Oh my gosh, Bacon. I don't know if you're still around, but yesterday I started to watch, me and Night Trap, we started to watch Zeta, and it's rough, man. It's rough for a lot of reasons. Like, you warned me, as well as Siang Sang in, from your chat. You guys tried to warn us about the whole animation issue. Bacon lol. And let the end the explanations. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you guys tried to warn us about the animation, but it's jarring. It's jarring. I thought I could adjust, but there really isn't any attempt to make the old style marry with the new style. Like, there really isn't any effort into trying to make it look somewhat the same. Like, I would have had more even though it looks good in the sense, if you took it as an individual thing, like if you looked at it on its own, the new animation looks good. I kind of would have respected them more if they attempted to follow the older style. Like, especially nowadays, I feel like more people are more accepting of just like retro visual styles. So, it's not an issue of like being embarrassed about the old style. Just embrace it. And oh my god, it's just so like there'll be like camera angles and shots where it's like rotating around the characters. Like, it's just way too. They kind of went overboard. They totally didn't even have to go that far. Making it looks great on its own, but the transition, for lack of a better term, is terrible. And in some cases, I even struggle to wonder. I'm struggling to see why they even bothered. Like, there was a couple of scenes where it was just like a really quick scene, new animation, and then back to the old stuff. And I was like, why? Why did they even? Was that even necessary? Did we need that little quick scene? I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Star Wars. You probably remember, at least when Star Wars was re-released in like the early or late 90s, early 2000s, and then George Lucas added a bunch of CG and stuff. It kind of reminds me of that. Like, he added a bunch of CG scenes and a couple of extra scenes, but even then that felt a lot more integrated into the movie. By comparison, this seems a whole lot more blatant and distracting than anything that happened in Star Wars. But I have to say that even if the whole jarring difference in animation was one thing, I think that the cut, like this movie cut or something, is just, it's borderline incoherent, unfortunately. I have a hard time understanding the motives of all the characters, and I don't know. It just seems like the edit is kind of incoherent. It's like, I don't know if the actual original Zeta was like that. So here we are drawing the lines. Like, I get that the bad guys are, it's kind of getting into like a gray area, or there's a shift now. The Federation are bad. I get that, but just so many things are like happening, and it's like, oh, your mom, like, return this pilot and the two Gundams that were stolen. or we blow up this guy's mom. And it's like, holy shit, that is crazy. And yeah, and then oh, his dad was in space too. Like, it just seems like the edit to cut it down into a movie is they just hacked it apart. They hacked all the coherency out of it. I don't know if like the original is better in that regard. Okay. Bacon, to be fair, Camille's motives is pretty stupid to begin with. The original is messy as well. Really? Okay, well, I guess, am I more accepting of this now? I just have to kind of take it as it is. So the movie is an hour and a half, the first part, and at some point, Night Trap was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to pause this. I'm falling asleep." But I was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, it just felt very incoherent. Okay. So how would you say how well received Zeta is? Is it a fondly remembered installment into the Gundam UC series of movies, or is it like not as fondly remembered? Because is that the first Gundam series? Like, is that the one that comes right after the original in terms of like release date? Seems like it was made in the 80s. I don't know. Oh yeah, so we're only gonna do the black outline on one. We'll see how the difference is. Okay. So yeah, that looks a little... This one here, the lines are a little uneven. This one's a very, very fine, the lines, but we can fix that. We can fix that. Bacon, the TV series is still fondly remembered, but I'm not sure about the movie. Bacon, Zeta was the first sequel made after the original. Okay, so it's still fondly remembered. I mean, I'll give it a shot, but yeah, it just feels like... It feels like the storytelling in the original was just like they took their time, and even though it was a movie version, it still felt very coherent. It still felt like they let the story breathe. But yeah, in Zeta, I'm just like, oh my gosh. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just an hour and a half long, so it's not that bad. Like, I can sit through something that's kind of so-so. It's just an hour and a half of my life. And I'm sure that there's a lot of redeeming qualities to it too. But for now, I'm just like, ugh. Thunderbolt, I like Thunderbolt. I guess Thunderbolt, you guys were saying that it's kind of an alternate spin-off universe or something. Like, it's not strictly part of the mainline UC. I have yet to look at like any sort of timeline, but I feel like if I do, I'll be like completely baffled by like an attempt to structure this timeline if they account for alternate timelines and stuff. Oh boy. Okay. Just fixing up some of these black lines, although some of these black lines will be painted over anyways with the yellow. Okay, all right. Good enough. Okay, so now we can begin the yellow, I think. Just clean our brushes and get a drink of water, or barley tea, actually. Night Trap paint job looking good, thanks. It's coming along, it's coming along. And then when we're all done, we'll have these three guys ready to go. Although, I'm assuming that 3 jet bikes is like probably pretty shitty in 40K. Like, you probably need a lot more for them to have an impact. Although, that being said, I'm sure smaller point battles will probably be more effective. Night Trap, we need to finish Zeta. Yeah, we'll finish Zeta. We'll finish Zeta later today, I suppose, because we're behind now. There's another one that was out today, the second part to Zeta. Bacon, maybe it's just me, but most people remember Zeta for the second half. Okay, so second half is probably going to be like halfway through the second part and then the rest of the third part, right? Because I think it's split up into 3 parts. Night Trap, that blue looks like the same blue on Bacon's car. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should go find something reflective, like a shiny gloss finish, to make them look even more like a car. That would be kind of funny. Bacon, and I think the most interesting aspect in Zeta is Quattro, is about Quattro, Char, instead of Camille. So he is Char. I thought he was Char. I was like, is this guy pretending to look like Char just so that he can get chicks, or is he actually Char? But yeah, he actually is Char. Okay. Or like, is he just, yeah. Were they just being lame and they basically made Char again but called him something else different? And he's supposed to be a different character, but he actually is Char. Okay. I thought they said something early on, like he heard Lala. He heard Lala Sue or something. I thought that happened. Was that a spoiler? I don't think it's a spoiler, because like I said, there's at one point he does say something like he heard Lala. Yeah, I was just, I don't know how much you had seen of our previous conversation there in Night Trap. I was just telling Bacon how we had to stop watching Zeta just because it's just so, I don't know, it's just kind of hard to fully comprehend at the moment. Oh, sorry, this is not quite on screen. Get this a little more on the screen here. You see how thin this yellow is? That's why we have to paint white first, to make sure it's really bright. Because if I put that straight up on the blue, it would just, the blue would just overpower it and show through the yellow. So to give it a chance, we have to put white first. It's a bit of a time-consuming step, but I think it's worth it. Also, like, I mean, the guy looks like Char, right? Like, we just don't know at the moment why is he going under this name. I'm sure that we'll find out soon enough. But that's sort of the case with Gundam in general. It seems like Char has always been the more popular character with people, rather than Amuro. Yeah, I was reading something about that, how Char, like, the ladies love Char in real life too. And yeah, just in general, Char is a much more complicated, interesting character than Amuro. This is something I'd like to discuss, because as I'm watching these movies and stuff, I'm thinking about what are they gonna do for the live action movie that's supposed to be coming out. Bacon, I guess it can be considered a spoiler, but like Ibo said, they dropped many hints. They weren't even trying to hide it. Yeah, I think we were kind of like half paying attention. That's why maybe it didn't fully comprehend to us that this guy was Char. I was like, okay, is he not? And like I said, I was like, there was that Lala Sue thing, but yeah, I was just not entirely sure how much I was paying attention. But back to my other point, I was wondering what are they going to do for the movie, the live action movie. And now on Gundam Info, they actually have a little segment, a little video with the director that they've brought on board to do the movie. It's the guy that directed King Kong, and I like King Kong. And he might actually be able to do a good job, but it's still very much up in the air if this is going to be any good at all. Still very much a big question mark. And I'm wondering, there's so many little things about Gundam 2 that like if it's not handled well, it's going to come across as being really as half-baked or shitty, or people will think it'd be dumb. And one thing is the whole concept of a new type. And strictly from the perspective of the first series, it seems like the new type is a very complex kind of notion that weaves in and out of the story and has different meanings to different people. And I love that. I love the fact that it's kind of complex. But at the same time, I could see how Hollywood might handle it in like the shittiest way possible, and either over-explain it, under-explain it, or change the intention of it. You know what I mean? We see that so many times in various things. Night Trap, the mix of old and new animations is so jarring. Yeah, oh my god. Yeah. I was also mentioned that to Bacon. So jarring. Why? Why did they make it like that? I feel like they almost have to go back and do a better job now. They went through all this effort and the result was bad, so now they have to do it again. And I'm actually very thankful that they didn't do anything like that to the original Gundam series, you know? Because so far, that's of the things that we've watched, that's probably my favorite right now. It's the original series. And that would have been god awful if they went back and added new scenes with like slick animation and like a more quote unquote mature style, blah blah blah. My second favorite thing is probably the first part to Thunderbolt. I like that from what we've seen thus far. Of course, I'm not counting things like G Gundam, which and build fighters, which is like a all-time classic for me. Bacon, that'll be terrible, lol. Night Trap, Hollywood would dumb down the war aspect, and definitely no kids. Man, I think you really need to have the kids aspect. Like how old is Amuro supposed to be in the events of the first movie? Is he 14, 15? He's supposed to be 12? Bacon, Hollywood would definitely botch the concept of new types. If you can get, I would accept a 15 to 16-year-old Amuro. In the movie, I mean, in the actual anime, he looks like he's about 12 or something like that. But a 15 to 16-year-old, I think I could go with that. What do you think, Bacon? And Night Trap, do you think 15 and 16? Like a human actor, would that be acceptable? Because you also have to factor in, Wiki says 15, okay. Amuro's around 15 in the anime, okay. I think you can find a competent 16-year-old actor. Is Amuro Asian? I mean, his name sounds Asian, but like, how would you feel about him being a white kid? I feel like he has to be Japanese, or well, Asian. It's some kind of Asian. Like a lot of the other characters, Char, I could see Char being a white guy. But I think Amuro has to be Asian. I'm more... I feel like I'm more strict on that compared to something like Spike Spiegel. I was very much willing to accept a white Spike Spiegel. I don't know. I don't know if anything in the show ever said that he was Asian. I could be wrong. But yeah. Night Trap. I knew this was gonna come up. Tom Holland. Tom Holland. If it was Tom Holland from like the first Spider-Man, where he really looks like a kid, sure. But he's a little too old now. Unless he has a younger brother. Tom Holland. I could see that. I honestly could see that. He could literally have the same haircut that he has that you see him now. Like, he kind of has like a mop head kind of thing. Yeah, it's really just a matter of finding a good actor for that's going to be that young, because, yeah, it's kind of tough sometimes to find a good actor that's also young. It's not impossible. Bacon, I don't know, didn't we say he's actually Canadian? Yeah, or that he lived in Canada? Yeah, so according to the wiki, he's like from Alberta or something. But I mean, that was the wiki source for that was from like a Dynasty Warriors Gundam game. So I don't know how official that is. And if you look on the internet, there's a lot of conflicting opinions. There's like a novel or something. There's a novel that says he's from Mexico or New Mexico. So yeah, there's a lot of conflicting opinions about the origins of Amuro. Canadian would be cool though. Michael Cera, get Michael Cera. Again, he's too old though. The thing about new types, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of this too, but it's like it's this thing that is a theory. It's introduced as a theory that hasn't actually been proven yet, right? And then later on, it's a label that has been applied to Amuro and others, but many people aren't even entirely sure what that is or how true it is, right? And throughout the rest of the show, that's sort of explored, right? So, and the other thing is how the notion of a new type is also used as like a political tool by the government, by both sides, and even in small instances, it's kind of used as this thing to kind of hold over someone. Sometimes it's used as a derogatory term. Sometimes it's used to kind of take advantage of people. So, and then finally, when it comes to the fact of what it actually is, and showing the not necessarily the extent of it, but when it comes to actually showing what they can do, again, it's just, there's just a lot to it. Especially as we go into the third movie, or well, I'm referring to the movies because that's what I saw in the original series. We start getting into very abstract stuff. We start getting into something that is approaching even like 2001 Space Odyssey, where the visuals are becoming more abstract, and it's really interesting to me. I think it looks awesome, but I just question whether Hollywood has the cojones, has the balls to really explore what that all means, and all the different ways it's been used as a tool. And yeah, I could just easily see Hollywood just kind of like saying, oh, it's something that allows people to pilot the Gundams better, when it's so much more than that. I could definitely see Hollywood just just dumbing it down. Night Trap, who would I cast as Char? So I'm thinking Ryan Gosling. Because Char's supposed to be this like ladies' man that all the ladies love, even in real life. And to me, that's kind of like Ryan Gosling also. Handsome guy, blonde, can act. I'm not saying he's just a eye candy, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a decent actor. I haven't really seen him in too many movies. He was good in Blade Runner. But yeah. Definitely not Owen Wilson. Definitely not him. Robert Pattinson? That would be cool. That would be actually really interesting, because Robert Pattinson, in my opinion, he seems to bring a lot of depth to his characters. Like, he's coming from a very thoughtful, emotional place. So that might be kind of interesting. Robert Pattinson. But yeah, I also think that they have to deal with kids. Like, they have to address that, because it's a part of the... To me, it's a... what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a subversive aspect of Gundam, the first series. And it's something that's more explicitly shown in shows like Thunderbolt. If you recall the scene in Thunderbolt where a bunch of the kids, they're new recruits, they're going to be piloting the jobbers. They come out of the transport ship and they salute the Gundam. And it's the most fucked up thing ever, right? You might think to yourself, what's the big deal? But it's like these kids are praising this thing like it's a person, like it's their hero, right? And you can't help but think about how Gundam as a product in the real world is obviously made to appeal to kids, right? and it just creates this weird thing that I think is brilliant, uh, and it's definitely intentional to some extent, where it's like, yeah, you know, it's fucked up that these kids are being sent to war, and they're made to pilot these things that look like toys, and it, especially in Thunderbolt, it kind of seems like it's a deliberate choice to make them look like toys, right? And of course, we know in the real world that they look that way because they're supposed to be appealing to kids. So, yeah, I think it's something that makes Gundam special. So I really hope that they include that in the show in some respect, or not, or what's the word? They don't, for the movie, the live action movie, that they don't gloss over it. Okay. So this is the one that I didn't line, but I'm still trying to tidy up my my yellow lining here. Tidy it up a little bit. Sorry I haven't checked the chat in a bit, guys. This is one of those things where I have to kind of concentrate. Okay. Well, we can leave it at that because I'm going to be doing some weathering and scratching. So we can kind of leave it at that. So this one on the left here is the one that I outlined in black, and the one on the right is one that I didn't. And it's not that bad. Like, you can't really tell too much the difference. But I'm also going to be doing some weathering and stuff, and that's really gonna weathering and some shading to the yellow, and they'll probably end up looking pretty close. Bacon, or that they don't shy away from those aspects. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I hope that they don't gloss over it, that they don't shy away from it, you know? I really hope that they don't. The director of King Kong, by the way, the first King Kong, that movie is trying to say something, right? Like, he seems like a director that is aware of such things. Like, he seems like the kind of director that wants to make a commentary on war or whatever, through the use of popular media, through the use of King Kong, and here we are with big robots instead of a big monkey. And I think he's probably the best candidate out of people that are working in Hollywood today. I'd say that he's probably one of the better candidates that I can think of to handle it. So I'm hopeful. Bacon, a lot of Universal Century Gundam has the whole kids get involved in war thing going on. Yeah. Give me a second, guys. Gotta get a drink of water and blow my nose. The other thing I liked about Amuro, it's just how messed up he gets throughout the events of the first movie. He does a lot of heroic things, but he's traumatized by war, right? Killing people. Yeah, it messes him up in a big way. And at one point he visits his mom, who's like a pacifist. And events occur that, like, he shoots somebody in front of his mom, and she's just absolutely horrified by it. And his mother is the one person that he thought he could, like, find comfort in, right? Like all kids would, right? Find someone to, like, comfort him in this time and all the things that he's going through. But she actually says, after seeing that, she says something like, "I didn't raise you to be that way." and I'm ashamed to be your mother. And he's just like, again, he's just spiraling. He has nowhere to turn, right? To find any kind of comfort or relief in this time of war. That's the other thing. They basically thrust it upon him that he needed to nut up and go to war. He got into the Gundam the one time, and then from that point onward, they were like, "Yep, you're the pilot now." And many times early on, he was just like, "I'm a soldier? I thought I was a civilian." And everyone on the ship, in fact, like so many of them are just kids, right? And another interesting thing, and again, this is something... Hey, Mary Trunks, how's it going? How's it going? How is the baby? Another interesting thing about Gundam was how many times when they invade, when the Zeon forces attack the Federation, and they see that they're just kids, so much of the Federation is just kids, they're like, what the hell? They're just kids, you know? It's messed up. Especially because so many Zeon forces, most of them are adults, right? And you know, they're drawn in such a way that they look like these big, burly, mature people, adults, mostly men. And then, yeah, they're like blowing away, killing all these little kids. It's fucked up.